One of the congressmen raising questions about all of this is Democratic Congressman of New Jersey, Frank Pallone Jr. He is one of the bipartisan groups of senators and congressmen that have signed this letter. He joins me now. Thank you for being here. You have called on the executives from Whitefish to come before your committee to testify by November 9th. Do you know that if they will?
We don't know yet, but I mean, Poppy, this contract really smells, frankly, from what we're hearing so far. I just saw the governor say that they want to audit the situation, but apparently the Hill this morning, one of the papers in Washington, actually released part of the contract.
I have it all here, and I think I know what you're getting to. They can't.
It says they can't audit it.
So let me read this to you. This is in the middle of the contract, page 27 of this 34-page contract. It says, in no event shall PREPA, the power authority in Puerto Rico, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, FEMA, the Comptroller General of the United States, or any authorized representative have the right to audit or review the cost and profit elements specified herein. Here's why the cost matters. Let's look at these numbers. Okay, pull them up on the screen, guys. Here is how much these folks are making. $338 an hour for a site supervisor, $227 for a journeyman lineman. And if you use subcontractors, which are the bulk of those workers employed by Whitefish now in Puerto Rico, $462 an hour for a subcontractor supervisor, $319 for a subcontractor journeyman.
I mean, the thing is, I think this contract should be canceled. When I saw that clause, I've never seen a contract that specifically says that no government entity can review it or audit it.
But the government entity signed it. PREPA signed it with the CEO. You can't cancel it.
Well, I think that the real question here is that they have the capacity to do this. I mean, we'll talk about whether it should be canceled or not. I think it should be canceled just on that clause alone. But the fact of the matter is, do they really have the capacity to do this? They started out with 2 employees. You see the problem in Puerto Rico, which is massive, 75% of people without power. And there should be some way to review this, or even before it was done, as well as now, to see whether they even have the ability to do it.
So Puerto Rico is bankrupt. Puerto Rico is $70 billion in debt. This company, PREPA, the power authority, is $9 billion in debt. Can you tell me, Congressman, who's paying for all these costs?
It's not clear at all to me who's paying for it. Apparently, the other thing the governor said was that, well, since they didn't have any money, they relied on this group because they had some kind of equity backup. But then we found out that the equity backup company is actually a major contributor to the Trump administration.
Who?
In other words, who's
the equity backup company? You got to substantiate that claim, Congressman.
I don't know the name of it. It's HBC Investments or something.
All right, but if you're going to come on this program and say that they're a supporter, you got to back that up.
Yeah.
So please send that to us or tweet it out for our viewers if you could. Okay, so today at 11 a.m., the president is meeting with the Interior Secretary, Ryan Zinke. Zinke is from this town, Whitefish, Montana, says, yeah, I knew the CEO of this company in passing. We weren't best friends or anything like that. What questions do you hope the president asks Zinke about this?
Well, we want to see, first of all, we need the contract. We'd like to see what subcontracts are out there. We'd like to see, exactly what work is specified, and where they're actually supposed to be going to improve, this actual power grid. Those are the types of things that we've been asking for with the Energy and Commerce Committee.
What number, well, two questions. What numbers will tell you they're getting the job here? Done. It's 74% without power now. I
mean, I think you aren't going to be able to tell that probably for a few weeks to see if actually the grid comes back. But I just think that the nature of this contract is highly suspect.
And I would assume that you would be willing to subpoena them to testify if they won't come voluntarily.
Well, our letter, Poppy, went out on a bipartisan basis with the chairman of the committee and me as the ranking member. So if necessary, I'm sure we could exercise subpoena power, sure.
Because you've been very vocal in the wake of the president's different topic here, opioid crisis sort of announcement move yesterday, he did deem it a public health crisis, which does open up some different routes for funding to help those addicted and in recovery. It does not tap in FEMA funding or additional funding. Now, Chris Christie, the Republican governor of your state, New Jersey, who headed the opioid commission, was asked, did the president go far enough by not calling this a national emergency? Here's what he said.
We really believe this is a health crisis and that Health and Human Services has to be the agency that's coordinating the response. So the president did exactly what we asked him to do yesterday, and now it's up to Congress to step up and put funds into the Public Health Emergency Fund, which will give the president the maximum flexibility to distribute these funds to the states and get the money on the ground to start fighting this fight.
That's interesting. He's saying that the president did exactly what the commission wanted, even though he didn't call it a national emergency. And he says it's on you guys. It's on Congress to appropriate more funds. Should Congress?
Of course we should. I mean, we should probably be appropriating maybe 10 times what we've appropriated in the last couple of years. But again, the Republicans are in charge. They're in majority. But I think that's what the president should have done. I mean, this issue of national emergency, public emergency, I don't think is as important with the fact that the president actually asked for the money. As you know, if the president says, I want, $10 billion over the next few years, for this emergency, that would put some pressure on the Republican majority.
Are you willing to put forward legislation on this?
Oh, absolutely. We did pass legislation a couple of years ago about $500 million for the last 2 years, but that will run out at the end of this year.
You have 59,000 Americans who have died this year alone as a result of opioids.
A lot more money's needed.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much.